saw a towel laying right here, and I just picked it up and I wiped my face. And he's like, that's Josh style. He was like, imagine I get Josh sweat on me. Greatness. Greatness.
Training camp is back. That music is back. I love that music. Hard Knocks is back, people. Welcome. Hey, everybody. My name is Andrew Siciliano, and this is your official Hard Knocks podcast. This summer, 5 fantastic episodes with the Buffalo Bills. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to do this. I have been a Hard Knocks fan. I mean, we all have, haven't we? Right? Since year one, which was 2001, the Ravens coming off their ridiculous Super Bowl run with that historic defense the year before. And this is 2025. And this is a fantastic team, a team much like that Ravens team that has Super Bowl aspirations. If you don't know me, it is okay. I was at NFL Network for 13 years as a host, the original host of the original Red Zone channel on DirecTV and NFL Sunday Ticket for 18 years. I've called games for the Rams, the Browns, and college football, and the Big Ten, and all that. And now we are here doing the only official Hard Knocks podcast. And like I said, this one is different because it's with a team that isn't trying to work in a first overall pick a quarterback like Caleb Williams, or a team that doesn't have a new head coach, right? And you're trying to go from worst to first, and you're trying to build something. This team has already built something. This team has won 5 straight division titles in the AFC East. This team has been knocked out by the Kansas City Chiefs seemingly every year. Not every year, but it feels that way. Of those 5 division titles, this team needs to get by the Chiefs. This team has one goal, and that's it: to close out this stadium, Highmark, and to move to the new building where they could open up the new building with the Lombardi Trophy. Ryan Fitzpatrick will be on this episode coming up in a little bit. This Hard Knocks pod will look at every show, and Hard Knocks this year will be like you are always used to, and that is exclusive behind-the-scenes access with the Buffalo Bills. It started when they showed up at St. John Fisher. They do training camp not in Buffalo, but about an hour east in Rochester, one of the few teams that still does it away from home and on a college campus. First of all, when you show up for camp and you're not at home, you do have to bring all these things because they are in a dorm. Now, it's not like in Pittsburgh where Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf were sharing a bathroom. It's not like that. They've all got their own rooms, or at least the veterans do. But you need to bring the things from home that make you feel comfortable.
So I got my Yoda blanket right here. That's what I'm gonna be sleeping with. Got a couple pillows in here.
I got a little pregnancy pillow. Good for sleep, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Toilet paper. Gotta have good toilet paper here.
I love the fact that Joe Andreessen has a Yoda blanket. I have been told as a 50-year-old adult that I need to put my Star Wars toys away. So a guy in his 20s who loves his Star Wars, who shows up with a Yoda blanket, I love it. KJ Hamler with the pregnancy pillow, though, kind of caught me off guard. I don't have kids, so I've never had to sleep next to a pregnancy pillow. But I'll be honest, when he had the thing there on camera and said he brought it, I Googled it, and I'm kind of intrigued. So thank you, KJ Hamler, on that. As for Taron Johnson, don't laugh at the toilet paper thing. I have been there as well. When I was a young reporter, I covered the Bears. I was their sideline reporter. This is way back in the 90s when the Bears, much like the Bills do now, went away for training camp, and they went to UW Platteville. So University of Wisconsin at Platteville, which was like a 2.5-hour drive from Chicago. And the media stayed in dorms as well. You weren't staying at the hotel down the street. And I was told probably 100 times before I packed for Platteville and drove up there, you need to bring your own toilet paper. That is a savvy veteran move by Taron Johnson. Also a savvy veteran move, Dawson Knox, the one suitcase for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it is. His wife, Alex, the quote was, I wrote it down here, 2 weeks in a carry-on blows my mind. Alex, it's the only way to go. And then the opening meeting, which Hard Knocks has the cameras there for as well. One thing that stood out to me from Sean McDermott, the head coach, which I loved, he says, I'm giving you permission to fail. It's going to be a tough camp. We're going to practice hard. We have to practice the right way. We need to get through this thing without injuries. But he says, I'm giving you permission to fail. This is the iron sharpens iron.
Who are the Buffalo Bills and what makes us be able to go on the field and just let it rip? It's our culture. Guy knows his job, prepares to do his job, executes his job. We are going to be competing at a damn high level. We're going to be competing against one another and making each other better.
I think everybody truly loves training camp the first week, maybe the second week. The third week, it turns to the dog days. Be fascinated to see by episode 5 if everybody truly loves camp.
When you walk through that little tunnel and there's, a few hundred or thousand Bills Mafia screaming their heads off, and you see the field, and it's hard to not be romantic about it.
Well, I have walked through that tunnel that Josh Allen is talking about at St. John Fisher. So they walk out. It's kind of at midfield, and you walk under the grandstand and out onto the field. But walking through that tunnel, and then when the players emerge from that tunnel, especially Josh Allen, the energy on the first day of camp, or really any day of camp, because those practices are packed each and every day. There was a practice early on in camp on a weekend where they had horrible weather. It was a Sunday, I think, just horrible weather. And they kept through it. Those fans didn't go anywhere. When Josh and all the players leave practice, that's generally coming back the other way through that tunnel when they sign. And there are a bunch of clips going around the first week on social media of little kids just in tears when Josh Allen is signing. I'm not old enough to remember the Beatles, but you've seen those clips, right? Like people just melting, and he has that effect. And it's not just in Buffalo. Josh Allen has that effect wherever he goes around the NFL. He is one of, it's a short list of players who truly can't walk down the street in any town. Josh puts in the work on the field, but clearly signing those autographs and taking his hat off and loving the fans and giving that love back shows how important it is for him to connect with probably the best fan base in the NFL, Bills Mafia.
Bills Mafia is special the way that they love their football team. The type of people that are here in Western New York, I think it really is a shadow of our locker room, that tight-knit family-like atmosphere. Every year they have this energy and this excitement that it's going to be our year, no matter how good or bad last season was. It makes us want to go out there and play extremely well for them.
In every jersey, there is a Josh Allen jersey. Not to say there aren't Matt Milano jerseys or James Cook jerseys or Keon Coleman jerseys or DeMar Hamlin jerseys. Of course there are. But everybody has 17. But I think they also love that Tre'Davious White is back as well.
What about, do you guys have chocolate chip cookies? I haven't been here in so long.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, please warm up 2 of them?
Yeah.
With some hot fudge on top?
I can do that.
Come on, now. I don't ask for much around here. Hot fudge. Trade Day Sunday. Trade Day Sunday. That look good, huh? You want one?
That's Tre'Davious White, man of the people, out at Pittsford Dairy. It only took one episode for Hard Knocks to get in Pittsford Dairy, which is like a Rochester legendary ice cream place. But Tre'Davious White's a great story, too, because he was a first-round pick. He was there forever. He joked on the podium last week about how he has all his old school gear. Like the rookies are saying, where'd you get that gear? He's like, oh, I'm old. He has it from when he was drafted. And he had a great run, but then he got hurt. He tore his Achilles. A year ago right now, Tre'Davious White was in L.A. with the Rams. Now, he was practicing, but he wasn't maybe doing all the team drills. He was still very much working his way back from the Achilles. The Rams thought that maybe they had something, and they did for like half a year, but he just wasn't himself. Anyone coming back from an Achilles, especially a guy that has to backpedal 50 times a game, will tell you that year one coming back from your Achilles, you're not the same, and he wasn't. Rams eventually moved on. He finished the season in Baltimore, but now Tre'Davious White has come full circle. And you can tell whether it's at Pittsford Dairy, and by the way, that got around on social. People were putting up on Twitter that Tre White is here. Come on down. Like, oh my God, look, I got my picture of Tre'Davious White getting ice cream. You can tell how happy he is to be back there, how happy he is to be not only in a Bills uniform again, but mentoring another first-round pick corner in Maxwell Hairston. Now, that's really one of the very few camp battles there is. You have a veteran team coming back. Almost the entire team is back. Camp really doesn't begin until the pads come on. Any coach will tell you that football in shorts is not football. Football in shells is not football. Football and camp doesn't truly begin until they take off the pajamas and they put on the pads. And that's truly when you can kind of feel the real measure of a football team. Telling moment of this episode for me is when Greg Rousseau, veteran defensive end, said to Landon Jackson, rookie defensive end from Arkansas, says, look, they want to see you be physical. It's about being physical, even for me. In other words, hey, I know my spot is secure on this team, but even I have to be physical now. For you as a rookie, and that's the veteran teaching the rookie, you have to be physical. TJ Sanders, the other rookie D lineman, you have to be physical. We see Landon Jackson, however, here. You've got to be physical because now, truly, they're taking notes. And now we really see, can you play at this level? Also thought it was cool how with Thurman Thomas there, obviously legendary Bill Hall of Fame running back Thurman Thomas, how Brandon Beane says, we're going to get it done for all you guys. Let's go back to Maxwell Hairston. Tre'Davious White is now clearly the leader in the clubhouse because Hairston is going to be out. McDermott is calling it week to week. There's a really kind of touching, vulnerable moment that the Hard Knocks cameras got. When Hairston went down, it's his right leg, it's his right knee, you immediately fear the worst. The worst was avoided. They dodged a bullet. He's going to be back soon. Week one's a legit possibility. It truly is a week-to-week thing. There's a vulnerable moment for a kid whose whole career is in front of him. Probably thinking in that moment, am I going to play this year? Like, I just got out here. We have pads on. I'm having the time of my life. And he said that prayer. That kind of hit me. And that's why I love Hard Knocks, because you can see those vulnerable moments. That one touched me. I'll be honest with you. And I'm happy for him that he'll be back probably sooner rather than later. The opposite of touching and moving and pulling out my heartstrings is AJ Epinesa and the snake. Get that off my screen.
I caught a snake this offseason with my bare hands.
Actually?
Yeah, I did. You want to see it? 11 foot.
You caught an 11-foot python?
Yeah.
I legit jumped. I'm not making that up. I hate snakes. I am not afraid. You can pull my man card if you want. I would run as fast as humanly possible away from that. Like, I can't even look at a snake on camera. So, AJ, you're a better man than me. The idea of python hunting, yeah, I'd rather jump out of a plane without a parachute. All right, let's get to Highmark Stadium. And I don't mean the current one, which is getting a farewell tour. I mean the new Highmark Stadium, because there's a great scene here, a couple of scenes actually, in episode 1 of Hard Knocks with the Buffalo Bills, in which Josh Allen gets a tour.
And as far as the wind goes, all the science has been done. Like, we're protected more on the southwest side, which is the prevailing wind comes from that direction. And then we have the perforations set up because if we didn't do that, when the wind went over the stadium, it would get sucked into the stadium and swirl. So we scienced that out.
Heck yeah. Science is a theme here. Go back to Galileo and gravity. We're bringing it full circle to science in the stadium. That is interesting because he pointed out that it's windy outside. It's not windy in here. If you notice how it goes straight up, that's kind of what they do in Seattle, which does have an open end. But anybody who has ever been to a Seahawks game knows that because of the way the grandstands go straight up, it is so loud. This new place is going to be deafening because of that science. And they say it's not going to be that windy, which I'll believe it when I see it, but it sounds kind of cool. Back at the old building on Friday, July 31st, they had their blue and red scrimmage, which is an annual tradition. You leave St. John Fisher, you drive back home, and then you pack the house. And they really packed the house. They had 39,000 people. Think about that. As Allen Iverson once said, not a game. We're talking about practice. 39,000 people for a practice, which is an all-time record for that basically scrimmage. It's just a practice. Josh Allen did not do team drills. They just gave his arm a day off. There's no news there. But he worked out. He heard all the big cheers. So Mike White and Mitch Trubisky got most of the teamwork. And that is, other than corner with Tre Wright and Maxwell Harrison, a legitimate battle to be Josh Allen's number 2 quarterback, the backup quarterback. Keon Coleman dropped a couple of passes, but then he caught a couple of passes there as well. But that's the game action for this episode. Next week, there'll be a preseason game. For this episode, the Hard Knocks cameras were there to give that kind of the game feel. You saw Sean McDermott signing autographs. You heard a young fan say she wants to be a coach. That was a nice tender moment. That got me as well. I can't wait to see you on TV doing that. Everyone signs autographs. It's a cool thing. And then it ends with Mr. Brightside, which if you do not know, if you're a Bills fan, you do know. But if you're not a Bills fan, you probably haven't noticed that Mr. Brightside has kind of become their anthem, right? Like the Seven Nation Army stuff in Baltimore. This is Mr. Brightside with the Killers in Buffalo. It started a couple of years ago. They're playing it during the fourth quarter. A bunch of the players on the field started singing along, and then they did it again the next week, and then the next week, and that kind of took off. And then bring it back full circle, right, to Dawson Knox's wife, Alex. Josh Allen and a bunch of the guys started singing it at the wedding. That got on social. That went viral. And it's kind of become their thing. Also, it should be noted that the day after, or maybe 2 days after that scrimmage at Highmark, the Killers actually played. The band played in Rochester. Curfew, they had practice the next day. I don't think anyone actually went from the team, but the Killers were actually there in Rochester to play Mr. Brightside. All right, enough of me talking. Let's get to the guest. One of my favorite people, a Bills legend, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Fitzpatrick. We are kicking off our Hard Knocks podcast with one of my favorite people. 9 teams, 17 years in the National Football League. He is now the smiling face on the desk, both before, at halftime, and after, when you watch Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime Video for the last couple of years. Going to be in Buffalo in September this year to see his Bills. And he is also the better-looking half, I think that's fair to say, Ryan Fitzpatrick of the Fitz and Wit podcast. How the hell are you, man?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate that because I know you've worked with Andrew quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's getting skinny now. He's got the distinguished look with his gray beard. He's a pretty good-looking guy, so I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
We're talking about Rams Super Bowl champion, Bengals legend as well, Andrew Whitworth, the former Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner, maybe one day in Canton, Ohio as well. You and Whit have a podcast, which is absolutely hysterical. You mentioned the beard, by the way. If I could just pull the curtain back, it is 6 a.m. where you are right now. Your beard is amazing. Do you roll out of bed and it looks like that? What is the routine?
You know, I'm going to let you in on maybe too much information here, but I sleep on my stomach, first of all, which is not good if you have a beard because it can get all wild. And so it just depends on the day. And I will tell you, today I woke up and didn't really do much to it. I had a good night last night. The beard behaved, and we're rocking and ready to go.
Well, if this is doing nothing is winning, man. I said 9 teams, and I don't want to disrespect the Rams, the Bengals, the Commanders at the end. I think they were the Commanders. Maybe they were the Washington football team at the end. The football team. Yeah. The Bucks, the Dolphins, the Texans. I'm sure I'm missing somebody in there as well.
Titans.
The Titans. Sorry about the Titans. Jets, of course, the Jets. I don't want to disrespect them, but for those watching the video portion, you can see the Buffalo hat behind you. You are, is it fair to say, a Bill at heart, right?
Yeah, I think that was certainly the fan base that I connected with most. I was there for 4 years. Every other team I was there for 1 or 2, so that's part of it. If I'm walking through the airport and I get hollered at 20 times, it's probably 12 Bills fans. The funny one is when I get a a Tennessee Titan shout out. Hey, we loved you in Tennessee. I was there for like a cup of coffee. Nobody knows I was in Tennessee, so you got to be a diehard fan. But yeah, I certainly register and feel great about the fan base in Buffalo. I love them. They love me. We have a mutual love for each other.
All right, Ryan Fitzpatrick, let's get to Hard Knocks here. You are a veteran of Hard Knocks. For those who don't remember, the 2017 Buccaneers, the one that I believe opens with Gerald McCoy showing up at camp in a kimono, Jameis doing Papa Shot, Roberto Aguayo getting cut, all that. Do you have fond memories? Or what are your memories of Hard Knocks 2017 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
It was an interesting team. I thought it was a good team to be on there to show some personalities for sure. You hit on some of them there, and Jameis since then has become quite the star.
Oh, my God.
The media darling. But I'll say this. I came out of it really impressed by the crew that puts together Hard Knocks, the relationships we were able to form. And I remember there's a camera in your meeting room at all times. So it's like, okay, nothing in here is sacred. We got to remember that. We got to figure that out. But they were great to work with. There's one scene in particular that I remember that pops up on social media every now and again, and it's Jameis doing this rap or poem before a game. And I was just, I got brought in as the wily vet to just kind of help him and with different things. And sometimes it's not about playing. Sometimes it's about, leadership and doing poems or raps before a game. And it just went a little long.
You got to repeat after me. 1, 2, 3 into the 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
The Bucks, Q's, and C's coming out that door.
The Bucks, Q's, and C's coming out that door.
And I felt like your rhyme was a little long.
Okay,
maybe it ran a little over.
Okay.
I love
us like sitting there in a preseason game and me letting him know that it was really good. You were tugging at my heartstrings, and then it just kind of ran on a little bit. So we had some great times. I'm sure they've got some footage that they didn't air that's really fun from the quarterback room, but they were great to work with. I do remember that.
And I know Bills fans, NFL fans, period, are excited to see that curtain pulled back with Josh Allen and the Bills. What are we going to see with Josh Allen when we pull the curtain back in this team?
I mean, I think you're just going to see what an amazing human being he is, that it's authentic, that it's real. He was walking in with a Catan board, so hopefully we're going to see some heated games of Catan. Can't wait to see that. I don't know if he calls it brick or clay, but I have questions. I need to figure out how serious he is about it. But I think you're going to see that side of it. I think the unique thing with the Bills, there aren't a lot of teams that go away for training camp anymore, and they are one of them. They'll be at St. John Fisher. They're at St. John Fisher now, and I always love that as a player. That a million things going on, have a million kids at home, and it truly allows you to lock in. So somebody like Josh, who has now an amazing, beautiful wife that's a movie star, his star has risen so much in the last few years, just in terms of going out and being recognized and all those things. So to be able to truly get away from all of that, to lock in with your teammates, to spend some good time together, everything you do is together, I think we're going to see a lot of those bonds. Deion Dawkins is a guy that's quite the personality. Tre White. So I can't wait to see all these characters that they have on the team, and to be away for training camp is really going to help us kind of get an inside look at some of that bonding and things that they're doing off the field and away from the practice field.
I thought Tre White on the podium was great this past weekend. I mean, he dropped like 5 different F-bombs, but I think it speaks to how happy he is to be back home there. Ryan, you know this. Every team says they have the best fan base in the NFL. They have the best fan base in sports. Why is Bills Mafia different?
First of all, that is what you do if you grow up in Buffalo. It is all about the Bills. It is all about the history, and you see it when you go to the games before the tailgating. It's family tradition. It's not just something that they've been doing for a year or a couple years. This is like 30, 40 years in the making. It's generations going and tailgating in the same spot. It's the pride that they take in knowing and loving all their players. And then, the big part of it for me, I played during the drought You know, where it had been, I think it was 17 straight years where they didn't make the playoffs. So to see the loyalty when things weren't going well, and now like how great of an era we're in with Bills football, with Josh Allen, and it's not a question of making the playoffs every year now. It's a question of, can we get past the Chiefs and get to the Super Bowl? It's just an amazing fan base. I think what people have seen with Bills Mafia in the past 10 years, when something happens, and those charitable contributions, the way that they're able to come together. Andy Dalton's a great example. Josh Allen and his grandmother's a great example. But just people with great hearts that love their Bills and would do anything for them. I think that's really what resonates with me when I think about Bills fandom.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to unpack that a little bit. For those who don't know what Ryan is talking about, go back, and I don't remember what year it was. The Bills were waiting to get into the postseason, hadn't been to the postseason, right? Andy Dalton with the Bengals threw a touchdown to Tyler Boyd to stun the Ravens. The Bills needed the Ravens to lose. Andy Dalton throws his touchdown. I remember I was hosting the Red Zone channel on DirecTV, and our entire studio goes bonkers. Then they cut to the Bills locker room. You got grown men crying and beer getting thrown into the air. It was this amazing moment. And Bills Mafia, Ryan, celebrated by, and I don't think anyone told them to, this just kind of took off online, by donating money to Andy Dalton's charity. And then the word got around. And then tens of thousands of dollars just flowed into Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton's charity. And now that's taken off. Other fan bases do that around the NFL because the Bills Mafia was a trendsetter.
Yeah, the city of good neighbors for a reason. The wealth of knowledge that these fans have because they absolutely live it every day is pretty remarkable.
You say word on your sleeve. Last time we saw you at Highmark, I don't think you had sleeves on. A couple of times in the last few years, you've been down to the field, hyping the team up before playoff games. Last year, the Ravens, I think, 4 years ago, it was the Patriots with that dismantling. And you are down there and you take the jersey off and you take the puffy off and then you take the shirt off and then you let loose. Like, what are those moments like for you? Because I think the last one, it was 15 degrees.
Yeah, so the first one, when I was actually still an active quarterback in the NFL, was the playoff game against the Patriots. And that was when the Bills scored 7 consecutive touchdowns. And it was just such an amazing display of football that day. And so me and my 2 sons that were there, we went tarps off. And then, that just kind of, that added to it a little bit. I think on Thursday Night Football, Josh made me take my shirt off at some point. And, when Mr. Allen asked, you got to do it. And then they had asked me a couple times to come lead the charge, to come out before the game. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now, and fire the crowd up, which is a really cool tradition that they've started recently. And it couldn't make it a few times. It was just waiting for the right moment. And so for that Baltimore playoff game, I was able to have my dad there and my 3 boys there right on the sideline next to me. It was insane. That place was so loud. And there was kind of the teasing and the anticipation of, is he going to take his shirt off? Is he not? I sent out a tweet combing my chest hair at one point. So we tried to build it up a little bit, but what a cool moment. I absolutely felt like a rock star. That's one of those things that fan base gets me and I get them, and that was a good example right there.
For those who don't know, again, I'll paint around the add some color here. The where else would you rather be, channeling the great Marv Levy from those Jim Kelly teams. That was his thing. Marv about to turn 100, which is just unbelievable. One of my favorite people in the NFL. All right, let's get to the team here. 5 straight division titles. You mentioned before, you got to get by the Chiefs. Tell me why. Don't tell me why. Tell Bills Mafia why this is the year.
I think they have something really special going, and it's not necessarily, big names, and it's the fact that this is a team. They're so cohesive. They're one, and you see it when guys leave and they talk about what a great atmosphere it was, and then when you see guys come in to this team, it truly has taken on Josh's personality. He's a great leader. He loves his teammates. That goes such a long way in the NFL. You're always kind of piecing together teams and trying to put spots and players together, and they are certainly this year addressed the defense in the draft. There are some things they needed to get better with, but the synergies, because Josh Allen is your quarterback, and the things that they can do to bring the level of everybody up, I think that's really important for James Cook to be there in camp, to show up and to come to work because he respects his teammates and his other guys, knowing and hoping that they're going to do right by him and take care of him. Brandon Beane's done a really good job of that. Terrell Bernard has been a good example of somebody that was kind of unheralded that came in, played well, and earned a contract. Benford's the same way. So it resonates in the locker room when you're taking care of guys because they're performing and you're keeping them in the building. And I think the nucleus that they have in Buffalo is going to continue to get better. They've been right on the doorstep the last few years.
Yeah, they got to get off the field against Patrick Mahomes defensively in the postseason. That's why you have your first 5 picks, Brandon Beane's first 5 picks, all defense. You got a corner, then you get T.J. Sanders, Landon Jackson, help on the D-line. You go out and get Joey Bosa, who I have no doubt, like you mentioned, Josh Allen is a recruitment tool. Same thing at Cincinnati. Hey, look, there's Joe Burrow. I will go play with him. So you get these defensive pieces, and the Chiefs are inevitable, right? Josh said it last year. It doesn't matter what we do against them in the regular season. It only matters what we do against them in January.
I think the Chiefs have been an interesting model that the Bills have followed a little bit, in that, at first it was the high-powered offense and throwing the ball all over the field, and then their defense got really good. And it was more, let's spread this ball around, ball control. You're not seeing the balls fly down the field as much as they used to, but they've still been able to be really successful because as long as they're in a game at the end, they have Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is inevitable. And so the Bills right now, I think, are the same way in that, Diggs leaves. They're still able to be a high-powered offense, but it is more of the spreading it around, the dink, the dunk, controlling the ball. Their defense just hasn't been there yet. Statistically, there are things that they do really well. They're going to turn the ball over this year, and hopefully they're going to be able to put more pressure on the quarterback. I think that was a huge goal because in the game's biggest moments, they just haven't been able to get that stop or get off the field or get that big strip sack. And you hope to see that this year out of them to step up in the biggest moments.
Let's wrap up Highmark here because this is the last season at Highmark before moving into a brand new facility right across the street. Do you have a favorite Highmark stadium, Orchard Park Stadium moment?
Yeah, I've got a few. I think 2011 comes to mind. That was my 3rd year there. We started out 3-0. And we beat the Patriots early, and I think it had been 14 games or so where Tom Brady had just beat the Bills over and over and over again. And on that day in particular, we had a pretty big comeback.
21-0.
Spectacular. Yeah, it was just a spectacular game. Great moment at the end of the game where I throw a pass to Fred Jackson. He scores. They review it. He's actually down at the 1, and we're all pretty relieved because then Tom Brady doesn't get the ball back. So we're able to kind of take a knee. Ryan Lindell hits a game-winning field goal with no time left on the clock. And that moment for me, because it was, you mentioned the playoffs and grown men crying, but on the field, it was Kyle Williams, it was Fred Jackson. It was just some of these guys that have been all-time Bills that had been there for a while that hadn't experienced that yet against those pesky Patriots, and they were so good during that era. But it was just standing there on the field and soaking in the moment of the fans and how much they appreciated it and had been waiting for it to happen. So that one was pretty high up there for me. We mentioned the 2 shirts off, not as a player, but being there again and just being surrounded by that great fan base and being a part of the Mafia. I have so many special memories, and it's going to be emotional, man. It's going to be emotional for it to be the last season there, but I think everybody's looking forward to that new place. It looks pretty insane.
It does look pretty insane. You mentioned friends and family you made in Buffalo. Fred Jackson, your favorite Bills teammate of all time. Did I see you say that somewhere?
Yeah, I've said that repeatedly, and I'll just keep saying that, we've got all those awesome names of great all-time Bills and players. Jim Kelly up there, Thurman Thomas. A lot of guys, obviously well-deserved and Hall of Fame players. Fred Jackson is probably not going to get into the NFL Hall of Fame, but he certainly belongs on the Ring of Honor for the Bills with what he did as a player there, the understanding he had for the fan base and the grit and perseverance and things that he did coming from Coe College where Marv Levy was from and everything he overcame. He was an all-time Bill and certainly deserves to be on that Ring of Honor.
I got one more thing on Josh, because you said he's got the movie star wife now. Yeah, he had the big wedding over the summer. Like, has he changed from the guy that you met before the draft? Whether it's at Tahoe, whether it's hanging at Augusta, has he, the MVP, changed, or is he the same dude he was at a Fireball, California?
Yeah, he's the same exact dude. He's such a knucklehead. That being said, like, his life has changed, and I was talking about his stardom changing. You know, he's on a different level now, and a lot of it obviously is the way that he's played. Winning the MVP, marrying the movie star, having this, this life now that is really out of a storybook. But the thing that's changed about him is he can't just go out, go to McDonald's and sit inside and grab a double quarter pounder, some of that stuff, because he's become so popular. That being said, it's amazing to see that he is the same person. I think it says a lot about his parents. It says a lot about how grounded he is, even though he can be very immature with his pranks and jokes. The maturity that he shows on a daily basis with being able to handle all of that. I go back to the MVP and winning that, and when they gave him that iPad and it was all the kids and the lives that he's affected in Buffalo, like, that truly is what he loves doing and who he is. And so it was cool for us to kind of get that inside peek at all the lives and kids that he's affected. But he's a genuinely wonderful human being.
He is, and I will second that. And after the iPad, I was at the party about an hour later, and he's not sitting there with stars from entertainment or music. I mean, he's got his wife there, or then fiance, but he's sitting there with mom and dad. And yeah, close friends, but it wasn't some crazy I won the MVP party, because he knows there is more work to do. He celebrated, and now it is back to football. And now it is back to Hard Knocks as well. We're looking forward to seeing Josh Allen and all the Bills throughout August here. And looking forward, Ryan Fitzpatrick, to seeing you as well, not only in Buffalo in September, but on the desk throughout Thursday Night Football this year. I appreciate you and the Beard getting up as early as you did to do this, man.
All right, I will do anything for you. Thank you, brother.
It's mutual, man. I appreciate you. Ryan Fitzpatrick deserves an award for getting up early. He wanted to do it early, like bright and early, like 6 a.m. where he lives. We thank him. And again, that beard is fantastic at 6 a.m. Also fantastic, let's hand out an award, okay? We'll do this every week. Want to do this every week? MVP of episode 1 of Hard Knocks with the Buffalo Bills. Let's give it to Coco Dawkins, Deion Dawkins' little daughter, who is adorable. I mean, first and foremost, she should win the MVP for just being adorable. But when Deion goes drifting, which, is that legal in his contract? Like, you can't do skydiving. Like, is drifting legal in like a 20-year-old BMW? I don't know.
Coco, what do you think? You have fun? You have fun with Daddy? Let me see you do your dance. 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 You drifting with Daddy? Yeah. Drift with Daddy, baby.
Coco sits in the front seat with a helmet on. Everyone's being safe. Coco Dawkins is my MVP of episode 1. She is adorable, and she was smiling and having a good time. This episode is good times. Episode 1 of Hard Knocks and episode 1 of this podcast as well. That's going to wrap it up. I want to thank you for listening and watching, and want to thank our good friend Ryan Fitzpatrick as well. Coming up next week, I'm really looking forward to talking to Pat Harris. He's the man behind the scenes. He's directing Hard Knocks, which is cool enough. What's even cooler is that Pat Harris is from Western New York, and he's a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. I'm also looking forward to the training camp storylines of not only the injuries to Khalil Shakir, number 1, Maxwell Hairston, number 2. They're both week to week. We'll see what they can do next week. But also looking forward to getting the James Cook update, because late in the week, James Cook decided not to practice. Now, he had been at camp. Remember, he wants a new contract, said he wants $15 million a year, but he wasn't holding in. He showed up and he practiced because he said, I'm here to play football, and that's what I do. Then on Sunday and Monday, he decided not to practice, and Brandon Beane, the Bills GM, said they were not expecting that. Well, we want you to talk back to this podcast, share your thoughts, whether it's on X or Instagram. I'm at Andrew Siciliano. You could leave us a comment on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to like and share and subscribe, and we thank you in advance for doing all of that. We'll be back here next week for episode 2 of Hard Knocks, which will be out next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO Max. The Hard Knocks podcast is a production of HBO and NFL Films in partnership with Pod People. This show is produced by Buffy Gorilla, Tony Mantilla, and Brian Rivers. The episode was edited for video by Kai Lee, and Morgan Foose is our sound designer. Special thanks to Michael Gluckstadt and Kenya Reyes from the HBO podcast team, and to Ken Rogers, Katie Morello, and Pat Harris of NFL Films. I'm your host, Andrew Siciliano. Thank you for watching.